Hi guys, I'm Nathan Ingram. I'm with Engadget. I'm a senior editor here, and I'm sitting here today with the head of Xbox, Phil Spencer.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Absolutely, thanks for having us. So when the event today started, Phil talked for about a half an hour about the overall vision for Xbox, and it's a big part of that was talking about the combination, the marrying of Windows 10 and the Xbox platforms, which is a lot of what you've done over the last year.
Yeah. What we find is gamers like to play on multiple devices, and with our service on console of Xbox Live, we saw the transition from the Xbox 360 to Xbox One and how that service was able to bring people along and they stay connected to their friends wherever they are. With the launch of Windows 10, it looked like a great opportunity for us to continue in that space.
Yeah. What needs to happen to get to the point, I think, where using an Xbox and using gaming on a Windows 10 computer are essentially identical?
Yeah, I actually don't have a goal of making them identical. I think there is something unique about a console gaming experience in your family room, 10 feet away from the screen with a wireless controller in your hand, which is different than sitting in front of a PC with a keyboard and mouse and playing a game. But I do think from a developer standpoint and a gamer standpoint, there are things that are similar or the same that we would want to continue to innovate on. We've innovated on controller, and we want to make sure our controller is available. If you do want to use controller on PC, you can do that. We brought Xbox Live and the whole service over to Windows because people want to stay connected to their same social gaming connections that they have. And for the games that make sense, we're committed to bringing our biggest gaming franchises to both Windows and Xbox to allow gamers choice of where they want to play.
Yeah. When you say the biggest franchise is Halo on the PC, is that a thing we can look forward to?
Yeah, we're not announcing anything specifically around Halo right now, but like I said, our commitment is that our biggest franchises that seem like they work well on Windows and well on console would be available to as many people as possible. Really, the thing that motivates us is to make our games playable by as many people as possible in the best way that they can be played. We think that's on our platforms and our service, and it's really not focusing on keeping other people from playing our games.
So this morning you talked a bit about the sort of life cycle of a console and how you build a spec and then it's out there in the market for 7 years or so, and then during that time other platforms are able to keep innovating more rapidly, and you said that you're envisioning a world in which consoles can actually have more hardware improvements over their life cycle. Can you give me an idea of what you see there? Like how can you make the Xbox One better over its life from a hardware perspective?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to do it is to look at what goes on in the PC ecosystem, right? You look at improvements in graphic capability, you look at improvements in display, you look at things like 4K and HDR and these technologies that have come, and for the most part, consoles sit outside of that. Sometimes there's small incremental bumps where possible, but I think you can look at what happens on phones, and most people buy a phone every 2 years, and you see the evolution and the innovation in the hardware platform. On console, I think you've seen over the generation size, like we've been able to make the same console smaller. We've been able to make it at least less expensive, so the price comes down. Those are important. So, but when you think about actually the games that I'm able to play, not losing all my old games and also allowing games to get better, I think that's a real important thing for us as a platform company to focus on.
And so that kind of started with the Xbox 360 backwards compatibility last year. Is that
That's exactly right. And a lot of people looked at our announcement of backwards compatibility as just a Xbox 360 to Xbox One transition feature. But to us, it was much more fundamental to what our vision was of when you buy your games, we want you to own your games and be able to play those games on our platforms. And making sure that we enable that backward compatibility, 360 Xbox One was one step. But I think a lot about that forward and backward compatibility and ensuring that we can make that promise to our customers.
When you're talking about bringing games to both Windows PCs and the Xbox, like Rise of the Tomb Raider, for example, there was a bit, I think almost 3 months between the Xbox launch and then the PC launch.
Yeah.
What can you guys do to get that down to nothing? I know you're doing it with Quantum Break.
We are doing that with Quantum
Break. And I think
Break,
that's probably going to be the goal, I would imagine, right? You don't want someone who's like a dedicated PC gamer to feel like they're missing out when something comes and they have to wait, right?
No, you're right. Most third-party games would decide to ship on all platforms at the same time because you're doing your marketing, you're doing your promotion. Right. It just makes sense. That's when the buzz is going to be out there about the game, and we'd want to do the same thing. and make sure that's possible. It doesn't always line up from a development schedule. We have Gears of War that's shipping here pretty soon on Windows, which shipped back in August on Xbox. But yeah, an ongoing effort. Trying to stagger the releases, I don't think is a great thing for gamers and not a great thing for the franchise.
And you also talked a bit about the notion of being able to sort of have your saves sync between Windows and Xbox. And when will it get to the point where you can buy a game in one place and have it work across any platform you want it on? Is that a goal for you guys?
Yeah, well, with Quantum, we're doing something at launch where if you pre-order the game on Xbox One, you get the game on Windows 10. Those will be decisions that are really driven by the publisher on where their games are available. But the idea that when I buy a game, it's my game, and there are multiple Xbox platforms that I could go play that game on, to me makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. I said this at the beginning, but maybe now that we've talked about this a little more, I'd just be curious to say, what do you see that you still need to do to tie Xbox and Windows 10 closer together?
You say tie closer together, and I'm just being honest, I don't really think about it as tying them closer together.
Okay.
What I think about is how we focus on who our customer is.
Okay.
And when our customer is on a Windows 10 machine, we want to make sure they have the best games possible to play. They feel like they're connected to a great service with Xbox Live, and that obviously a lot of people on that service come from the console, so they're kind of moving back and forth. What I really want is I want gamers to be able to decide where they want to go play their games. I want developers to feel like they have access to the largest collection of developers they can. I focus on the platform. They have the tools to create the great games that they need to go play. If there was zero overlap between the games and we could still succeed at those other goals, that's actually fine.
Yep.
I do think there are genres where the games will work on Windows and work on console well, and I want to make sure that we treat both as our kind of the platforms that we are supporting in gaming the way we are. But it's not really to kind of merge them together, because there is something distinct about you and I sitting in these chairs with a television over there with controllers and playing versus me sitting in front of my PC and playing with a keyboard and mouse.
But when it makes sense, when it's possible, you want people to have a nice integrated experience.
That's right. You talked about shared save games. I think that makes a ton of sense. So I can just pick up and play. If I play a little bit at work and then I go home and I pick up, I don't have to redo stuff I've already done. I like that feature. The idea that I own my content across multiple devices. I kind of like, these are all good ideas as we think through where this space is going.
All right, well, one more thing. Battletoads, you've worn t-shirts around. When are we going to get a sequel?
Well, to be a little defensive,
Sure.
when I wore the t-shirt, we hadn't announced Rare Replay. We shipped Rare Replay, which had Battletoads in it. We also hadn't announced that Rash was going to be in Killer Instinct. So now we've got a playable in Killer Instinct Battletoads.
Yeah.
So
The ball is rolling, though, right?
You could say the ball is rolling. I could also say at least it wasn't a tease that I wore a shirt. Like, we had a plan where Battletoads was going to be showing up in ways that people hadn't played before.
All right.
But I hear your vote for a new Battletoads.
All right.
I hear it and I recognize it.
Well, thanks so much for your time.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.